Hi, I'm Luke Powell. We're here today at LP's Quality Meats and we're going to be doing a smoked brisket.
Rolling, set, action.
You're cooking the brisket for maybe 11 to 12 hours. The brisket generally comes on the chest of the animal. It is a very, very tricky cut of meat to cook because it's made up of two muscles. Here we've got a point end brisket. So it's been finished on grain for 150 days. I just find that with the sort of long, slow cooks, and particularly because it's like a drier cook in the smoker, the marbling and the extra fat in the meat just helps it with the cook and just helps it stay juicy. So we'll start trimming. So like I said, here is a sort of the decal and the point ends. Here is the flat starts here. So I'm just going to cut this off from here. Flat off. Along here is quite a lot of fat. And if the fat's too high, you can trim it off. But at the same time, you sort of want it on there to render and protect the meat underneath. I don't want to cut into this bit too much because this is all the sort of marbled, delicious part. So I'll just tidy it up a little bit. Okay, now for the seasoning. It's really simple. It's just black pepper and salt. So roughly about equal quantities. And I'd like to blend the peppercorns absolutely last minute, just so they stay nice and fresh and really pungent. And I don't want it too fine. So not like, ground pepper, not quite cracked pepper, somewhere in between is good. And it's just such a difference, freshly ground, like the smell is far superior. Just 50-50. And we're just gonna try and evenly sprinkle the salt and pepper mix all over. I can be quite liberal, like I said, it's only on the outside, so we're trying to season this whole piece of meat, so you can be quite generous on the outside. And I just wanna try and get on every surface. Now that's good for the smoker. There's all different types of smokers, ovens you can use to cook briskets. Our one here, the Southern Pride one, it's from Tennessee, so we've had it for maybe 13 years now. It burns whole logs in the back. It's got a thermostat on it so you can adjust the temperature and it will sort of hold that temperature. We normally smoke around 225 Fahrenheit, which is about 107 Celsius. And that seems to be a good temperature for us just to cook it the whole way through. If you didn't have a smoker, you could actually bake this in the oven at around 107 degrees. It's obviously not going to have that smoky characteristic, but it will still cook pretty similar to how it will in here. The overall cook's probably about 11 hours. So we'll put this in now, we'll cook it for 8-9 hours, we'll see where it's at. If it's taken on a nice sort of smoky bark, we can then wrap it for that final period. All right. So the wood we're using is iron bark from the Blue Mountains. It's quite a dense wood, and because this oven's gas assisted, it should only take about 3 pieces for the whole cook. Okay, so the brisket's been smoking for about 8 hours now, and we're just gonna wrap it just so it stops sort of getting too smoky, and then that wrapping is just gonna help it steam inside so it sort of goes really soft and tender. All right, so for wrapping it up, there's no real special technique. You just wanna wrap it up so it's nice and tight. Then, nice and tight. These edges can come in. And like I said, this is just gonna help it steam inside the paper, and then we just put it back in for another couple of hours. All right, so this has been smoking for a total of 11 hours now. You can see it's quite jiggly. This point end here is kind of getting quite a jelly. This flat part here, if you start to put your fingers through it, it's quite tender, and that's a good sign. So if it wasn't ready, you can just put it back in and just keep sort of assessing it after every 30 minutes, 1 hour. So now, just before we cut into it, we're gonna let it rest for at least an hour. So we can put it in here to rest. This is just like an insulated box. You can use an esky or a chili bin or whatever, but it just helps keep it warm, but also just rest and relax for a while. Okay, so this has been resting for an hour, so we can get it out of the box. It's still quite hot, but it's a nice temperature. You can see already that's just like very jiggly, very well rested. I could probably put my fingers through it if I wanted to. It's very tender. And we can carve it. So with the carving, like I said, it's 2 different muscles. So we've got the flat here and the point and the decal here. Generally with the flat, you cut across the grain here. And then once we sort of start getting into this part, we're going to cut it like that. You'll see when you cut it, it's quite clearly two different muscles, but the flat sort of runs all along the bottom. But then this sort of jiggly deckle part on top is definitely going the other way. If you watch a lot of barbecue shows, they generally say like a pencil width. You can see here, this flat part is quite lean. And then once we get up into the point end, it gets really, really fatty. And now once I sort of start hitting this part here, it's going to change into the point. So I'm going to spin it around this way. You can see that, just that marbling in there, it's so soft. Now I love eating the outside because it's obviously really salty, and I think they call it the burnt ends, but it's really salty, really smoky, so I'll cut a few of these off. It's pretty wild. Okay, so that's the smoked beef brisket. It is tricky, but endure, give it a crack, it's well worth it. Okay, so make a little Sammy. Bit of this. Bit of barbecue sauce. Bit of coleslaw. Ooh. A few pickles. Some white onion. That's good.